Electronisounds Audio, the YouTube channel for you.
Hey guys, it's Dean from Electronisounds. I know a lot of you guys are having trouble getting ideas started inside of Beatmaker 3, and I wanted to share with you this workflow that I was using the last few days. What I did was, I chose a tempo in Beatmaker 3, and I chose the sound that I liked, and I set the key to the key of C minor, and I wrote a bass loop, like a little synth bass riff. Okay, and this is in the key of C minor. I know this because, you know, I know the scale, but I set the scale inside of, you know, Beatmaker 3 to a natural minor scale, set the root note to a C, which it is by default, wrote the riff, okay? And then I exported that out, this bass line here, again, knowing that it was written at 110 BPM in the key of C minor. And I loaded that into Novation Blocs Wave. And I told Novation Blocs Wave, you know, that it was 110 BPM and in the key of C minor. Okay, so there's the bass line that I wrote. And what we'll do here is I went through and started, you know, finding some new sounds and loops inside of Novation Blocs Wave that matched with this loop that I wrote. And I created a groove based around that original loop that I wrote. So even though I'm using the rest of these samples and loops here from Blocs Wave, which you'll hear in just a moment, this is all being based around 110 BPM and the key of C minor. And I just picked things that went with the loop that I wrote. So what I come up with, even though the sample content is very much Blocs Wave content, is a very much unique groove that's based around this loop that I wrote from scratch. Now you could start with anything. This could be a drum loop, this could be a synth loop, it could be something you've written in any app, or something that you've imported it into, you know, your iPad from, say, Ableton Live on your desktop or your laptop. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to start scrolling, and you're going to use the, you know, the browser or the discover mode, and you're just going to, you know, start scrolling through the content that you've got in Blocs Wave until you find things that, you know, start matching up with each other. So check this out, guys. Here's the original bass loop that I wrote. I scrolled through some drums in Blocs Wave until I found this loop that I liked, so I kept that there. My phone in the background, sorry. Here we have a little synth glitchy that I thought was cool. As a matter of fact, I think I did some editing on this in there to get it just to that little, you know, section there. Add another really nice strings loop that I found that kind of flows with the vibe here. Some percussion loops that I added. Here we have, this is actually just a snare roll that I thought was cool, and I thought I'm going to import all this stuff into Beatmaker 3 to start chopping and arranging. So anything that sounds cool, you know, I just kept, even though I'm not going to keep that in the loop per se right now. I'll show you what I mean. Obviously, we don't want, you know, a snare roll happening every 4 beats or whatnot, but I still thought that that was cool, so I kept it in here so that I could export that into Beatmaker 3 when I was, you know, filled up with the rest of the loops here. Found another melodic part here that was kind of fun. Kind of a distorted kind of mid-rangey sort of deal. And this real nice vocal hook. Okay, so then I exported it, you know, exported the project files out of here, okay, and imported everything back into Beatmaker 3 on this side, right? Okay, and then I just started chopping up the samples. So here's that drum loop from them that I, you know, from Blocs Wave. Here's that snare roll. Okay, a little bit of the percussion loop that I chopped out. I reversed the snare to have a, you know, altered variation possible here. These are some couple of trims. These are rather the shaker and the close hat are samples that I got from the Figure app on iOS. There's that original bass line that I wrote. There's that glitchy melodic chop. It's been run through quite a bit of delay and reverb here inside of Beatmaker 3. There's these other melodic chops. Crash cymbal that I imported. A noise impact that I imported. These are just samples that I use in pretty much everything. Here's that strings loop that I thought was really nice and went with our groove. This is a variation of this chop here. So I could do a little bit more rhythmic melodies with that. And then here's the little Vox gimmick that I thought was real nice from Blocs Wave. And I made a pumping riser effect inside of Ableton, and I imported that here to, you know, be able to have a riser in the track, in the groove. Okay, and then what I did is I programmed out some scenes, and we'll take a listen to what it sounds like. I'm gonna change the audio routing here, so we'll lose my voice, but you'll hear more clearly what I've programmed out with these sounds. Now I think the really special thing about this workflow, guys, is that you really don't need any music theory at all. And I've come up with a completely original track from, you know, writing something that I knew what the key was in because I set the key. I knew what the tempo was, okay? And then I take this groove that I wrote, and I import that into Blocs Wave and base everything else around that. So pretty simple, guys. You could write just one thing or export one loop from an app of your choice, import that into Blocs Wave, spend some time finding some complementary loops inside of Blocs Wave, and then export that whole caboodle, that's right, caboodle, into Beatmaker 3 so that you can arrange it out. And we'll see if we go into the scenes mode, or rather, I guess the patterns mode probably would be the best way to show you guys. You know, I've done what I've shown in the past here and just used one bank and chopped all this stuff up and arranged it out. You can see sometimes I'm holding notes and sometimes they're just real quick one-shots. The loops, you know, the MIDI note that's holding would be like, you know, triggering a loop rather than a one-shot, like the strings loop or the bass line that we started out with. Here's, you know, as we progress through the scenes, you can see that it's just a matter of, you know, sometimes I play the stuff live, sometimes I program it in. But I think the key here is that using Blocs Wave as a tool, as an interesting tool, with its, because it's got such great content, you guys, you know, to find complementary stuff to things you've already written, and then use Beatmaker 3 as a way to arrange those. Really, really fun and handy, you guys. So another thing that I think might be cool, guys, is, you know, once you've taken the time and chopped up some of the loops or whatever you've gotten from Blocs Wave, you know, and programmed out some scenes, might be fun to, you know, delete all that stuff. Maybe go back over into, you know, song mode here, press the play head so that you're, you know, back in song mode, and then just hit record and see what comes out. You know, maybe we would save this first, maybe like something new, you know, or this is, I had called that test 1, so we'll call this one test 2. And save. Cool. Always good to save your stuff just in case. I mean, you know, give it a new name, give it a new number, give it the date, whatever you have to do, guys. I'll just hit record and we'll see what happens. I kind of like that clap. Like that. Cool. So already we've got, like, you know, a new beat started. Cool. Now, you know, if we just select the pattern and go into edit mode, we're into the mode where I'm inputting all these MIDI notes, you know. And what I might do is, you know, just go in there and start moving things around and tightening things up. That metronome off. I always like to put a crash at the beginning of like an 8-bar or a 16-bar, you know, pattern, just to kind of help push that momentum forward. You get the idea. Again, you know, I might do a lot of, you know, zooming in and, you know, fine tuning on this side. I might select some, you know, notes and mess with the velocities of those notes, you know, and, you know, fine tune things. But I really think that this is a really interesting and quick creative technique, guys. Even if you don't have any music theory knowledge at all, you know, ways to use Blocs Wave creatively. It's a really great app. Beatmaker 3, I think, is a really great tool for arranging loops that we make in other apps, you know.